Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Realm. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I have a special guest with us. He's an author. He has two volumes of short stories out right now. You can find them on Amazon as well as Kindle, and they're called Unsettling SIPS. I have with us today Anthony Constantino. Anthony, welcome to the Horror Realm.
Howdy, Travis. Happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on, man. Pleasure to have you on. Now, I had a chance to look at Volume 2 of Unsettling SIPS. But first, tell us about Volume 1, and then we're going to go into Volume 2.
Yeah, Volume 1. So I started that right about in probably October 2023. At the time, I was kind of in between jobs, so while waiting to hear back from the interview process, just started tip-tapping away. Lit a nice little candle and wrote a story about a guy who got lost in a cave. And it kind of went on from there. Just ideas kept bubbling up. I've always liked writing. I've written many a story, but Volume 1 kind of came about in about basically a month of me just kind of slamming out story after story. And mind you, it's only 5. It's not a lot, but it was relatively rapid for me.
Now, how, when it came to these stories, how were you able to get these stories out so fast?
Well, it helped that I didn't have a job at the time, or the job that I had was like a day-to-day thing. It was a substitute teaching. So that helped a lot, but also it was, I get excited when I'm like, you kind of know when you get like in the groove or in the mood. You forget to go and eat for, 8 hours at a time or whatever. And you really start pounding out what it is you're writing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to your stories, at any point, was there any time that you were like writing a story and you're like, boy, this would actually be a great full-length novel instead of a short story?
So for the 5 in Volume 1, I didn't really feel that way. All 5 of those, I felt I kind of told everything that needed to be told. For Volume 2, I did not feel that way, which is why I'm working on the novel right now.
Yeah. Is it tough trying to write a novel compared to a short story?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Really?
Sorry.
Because I would think so. Because I've talked to some authors and like writing a short story, you got to have a beginning, middle, and end to capture the audience and give them what they need in a short period of time. A novel, you kind of have more time to spread it out, right?
Yeah. So I'm finding it because I've taken sort of the. I'm going to make a couple sort of Warhammer writing references here, but I've taken sort of the William King or the Dan Abnett approach of some of the novels where it's effectively a series of short stories and I end up using the same characters and they are all connected, but just to wrap my mind around it, I had to kind of divvy it up like that. Now,
as a horror writer, right now, it is great because it's easy to – I won't say easy, but it's easier to get your stuff out there right now. But what's some struggles that you have ran into as a new horror writer that some writer could be watching right now and they don't know about?
I mean, what they don't know about?
Yes.
I know I don't know everything. The main thing that I've found that's a struggle is oversaturation of the market. As played as that is, man, if you go I'll go and I'll look at my own books every now and then on Amazon. I'm fairly certain everyone does it, but I'm also just kind of curious to see what reviews pop up. And every time there's like another dozen short story anthologies that are recommended, and like it's new every time. Like, yep, I'm a teacher, so I'm really excited that we live in a society or we live in a time where we have as many people that are hopefully literate, and are able to put out their stuff and are excited to put out their stuff. But then as an author that you want to sell things, like realistically, like we want it to be our job, but
Mm-hmm.
not, we can't all sell enough to make a livable wage on it, if that makes sense.
Yes. Now, because I mean, I've wondered that because I've asked indie filmmakers as well as indie horror authors, and because it is getting kind of oversaturated, and like, so I mean, which is great because as a horror reader, now I have tons of options.
Yeah, because you got the pick.
Yes, but as an author, I can pretty imagine it's pretty fucked up because like you're like. Now you're competing with so many people. Like, how do you stand out? How do you get readers in when they are barraged with constant content?
Yeah. I haven't figured that one out yet. I'll let you know. But like, for me at least, I'm continuing to kind of pluck away at it. Just, I paint, and when I paint, it's not. I don't put a single coat of paint on and call it good. You have to add another layer and another layer. You made a mistake, you cover it up, or you work it into the design. So I'm hoping that in the same way, selling books, you keep chipping away, build more of a fan base, get other people interested in your work, go on podcasts with really cool people.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
And just and hopefully, like, the cumulative effort of just kind of chipping away, you'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, that's one of the things I try to do with my show. I try to, because I'm a huge indie horror fan, and like, it sucks because there's not that many resources out there. I should say free resources out there for indie horror creators. Because and like there has to be a way, and I love promoting it because there's so much good stuff out there right now, and I feel like people need to see it.
Yeah.
And Unsettling SIPS is actually one of them, and like it's so much good stuff out there. You're welcome. So much good stuff out there, but like I just feel like it's so oversaturated, and it's hard for indie creators to have the funds to properly market their stuff.
Yep. I'm on a bunch of horror pages on Facebook. I think that's how you and I connected.
Yes.
But I was on one of those pages a couple weeks ago, and someone said, "Hey, what's your day job?" And the whole list, there was not a good 300 or 400 replies of all of these authors that every single one of them this isn't my main job. I'm a custodian. I'm a professor. I work in retail or whatever. It's a project of passion. You gotta really like it. You're putting art in the world, man. But gone are the days where you could work on a single stained glass window and then die at the age of 24. The dream.
Yes, and I mean, even like when it comes to my YouTube channel, it's hard, man. It's hard because I have a niche where I'm the only indie horror guy. Yeah. But listen, you type in horror under YouTube, and about 1 billion different channels pop up, and but it's hard to stand out. It's hard to stand up. You got to kind of find a niche, and you got to find a niche audience. But that niche audience might not be the biggest audience, but you have to be passionate in what you do and give that niche audience the best experience possible.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say I when we got in contact, I looked you up, subscribe to the channel, woo. But I'm impressed, man. You got flipping 600 plus videos up, and it's at least a couple a week.
Dude, that's friggin', yes.
You need to actually genuinely give yourself a pat on the back for that, because that's freaking awesome.
Thanks, man.
It's wild.
It's a lot of fucking work, man. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time and work, but it's pretty much a full-time job. It really is.
Yep.
And by the way, this is not my only job, but yes, but it's a full-time job. But that's why I say it's not necessarily about when you come to an indie creator. It's not necessarily about the money. It's about the passion behind it.
Yeah, exactly, man.
So I'm assuming you've always been a horror fan.
So no, actually, I've actually gotten
Really?
into horror. Yeah, because especially when I was like even up like into high school, I was still like I still have anxiety, but like I was very anxious about the scary things. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh no, real life is way worse than flipping the books I can read. Okay, so I mean, it wasn't until like in the last probably probably last like 5-6 years that I really started getting into horror, and I mean, even then, like I really like a lot of the stuff that was written before the year 2000. I found is like just prior to that, I'm like, I like this, and so I sometimes struggle with some of the newer stuff, which is another struggle of modern authors because there's nerds like me.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, my fellow authors. I understand. I do try to support you.
But it's crazy. I run into a lot of horror authors, and I ask them, "So, you've always been a horror fan?" And a lot of them say, "No, it's something they kind of fell into." You know, that you know, I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Because I mean, I've always imagined if you're a horror creator, you've been like a lifelong horror fan.
Until relatively recently, the scariest movie I had seen was Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, and that movie gave me nightmares, and I was very scared of it, and I will freely admit that. And then I rewatched it again with my wife, like a month or two ago, and I'm like, oh, okay, got it. That's all right. Okay. So like, go ahead, man. Sorry.
Now, I'm about to say, so where do you get your inspiration for your stories?
So a couple of places. Let's see here. Okay, I'll start. I mean, one of the. Do I have it with me? Yeah, here we go. So, I'm a big fan of sort of the old Lovecraftian horror stuff. So that's where a lot of my literary inspiration lies, but also like kind of older sci-fi authors like Robert Heinlein. As problematic as that is, but so from a literary standpoint, I end up deriving a lot of inspiration from them. I derive a lot of inspiration from, as totally left field as it is to say in comparison to that, Brian Jacques and his Redwall series.
Mm-hmm.
As wild a comparison it is between like those three things, but like everyday life can be flipping scary.
It really can be.
just like a little bit. Like, dude, I like even like if you. I think I mentioned I work in the public school system, and even just in like kind of like you can. There are so many threads that I see every day that I could run with, where I'm like, oh, that is awful, and like, I'll kind of start writing it away in my head a little bit, and usually, and I have to cut myself off because I have a real job. But so I end up deriving a lot of inspiration from just from sort of that modern stuff. Or just everyday kind of like wandered like life. Does that make sense? I kind of rambled there. Sorry, man.
No, I totally understand. Like, I live in Baltimore, right, which is a dangerous place. I don't know if you heard it. I'm The Wire, Homicide, all that good stuff.
And
I'm also at my day job. I'm a mortician, which is scary enough, creepy enough, and like. Yes, I mean 95% of the stuff that I see on a daily basis, you're probably living in Baltimore and also be a mortician, is probably scarier than most horror movies.
Yes.
Yes, I mean it is terrifying. I mean life itself is terrifying. Yes, and I can see how life could be as life in general is an inspiration.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
So, all right. So Tony.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, this is a horror channel.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to ask you 3 horror questions.
Let's do it.
All right, this is personal opinion.
All right.
Okay, in all your stories, you have killed people or people have died in some awful ways.
Yes.
What is one way that you kill somebody? You're like your number one that you'd be like, oh hell's no, I wouldn't want to die that way.
I don't think I've burned anyone to death yet. No, I don't think I have.
That's a terrible way to die.
That's a really rough one to go. I think burning to death is. Actually, wait, no, that's in the novel. Spoiler alert. But no, I definitely burned to death. No, that I and having to. I think imagine having to write it from a first person perspective. That'd be a rough one. That'd be a rough one.
Burning to death and drowning sound awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because your body's shutting down, and I'm not a medical guy. I know I'm going to get something wrong here, but I know like your body will react in weird different ways. So like with hypothermia, at least like your body, like you kind of feel kind of warm at the end. You feel all right. But like when you're burning to death or you're drowning, that's a really freaking like your nerves are still going off, and like you can feel your body start to go.
Shoot. Yeah. All right. The second question. Is there a story that you're holding back right now that you are like, for whatever reason, that you're like, I'm not ready to release a story, or the world is not ready to see this story for some reason?
Yes. Yeah. The issue is it isn't really in the horror realm.
Okay.
So it's almost it's best described as just whimsy, and me when I'm happy I'll write it, and it needs to work. There's the first thing I started writing is a doctoral thesis written by someone in world, and I'm very excited for when I get the chance to go back to it, but I am not ready yet. I need to find the time and space for it, and I also want to finish all the projects I have right now that are a little less happy.
Get them out of the way. All right. Final question.
Yes, sir.
Who would you put on your own personal Mount Rushmore of horror villains? It could be books or movies.
Oh. I can't just do the different parts of the thing up on the mountain, right?
I know, because that's an awesome fucking character. That's an awesome movie. Yes.
Dang, son, that's a freaking good one. Tell you what, I think I would like to have. So the thing for one, for me, because of my background, I want the half mummy face of like the Mummy King as he's like coming back, but like when he's still got goo.
Yeah. Okay.
He's next. Probably. So in Lovecraft's. Oh gosh, I'm totally blanking on it. Shadow over Innsmouth. In the Shadow over Innsmouth, there's the half Deep One priests, or half Deep One priest. That, just in and of itself, I think is still. I think it's really freaking cool. Just the half fish dude, this big old eyes. I want him up.
See, this is a lot harder question. Most people think this is an easy question. It's a lot harder than it really is. Yes.
I mean the. Like I'll be honest, I'm like I have to like sift through all the different things too, where I'm like, oh, man, what else do I have? Okay, he's less of a horror character. But because of what he represents, he represents like the like sort of a big horrifying cult that has tons of power to like take over the world potentially, and sort of rip and tear up all of like effectively all of the world, and is very single-minded in his own purposes and always gets away. I would go. There's a character named Thankwol in Gotrek and Felix, and I think I would go with him. He's a rat man.
Ooh.
And he's like a priest of their horned rat god.
Ooh.
It's really cool, man. He's equal parts scary and also comedic relief, which kind of lessens the scary part.
I like that. I like
about
that.
You're like, ugh, oh no. You're like, oh, you're in every part of society. This is really bad.
See, I like that. I like my villains in general to have a little bit of a sense of humor.
Yeah, man.
I like that. That's why Freddy Krueger is my favorite horror character by far.
That's reason. That's a fair point.
Yes, because he definitely has a sense of humor. I mean, he makes a wisecrack before he kills you. I mean, that's fucked up, and it's like, whoa.
Brutal.
All right, Anthony, where can everyone find you and your work, my friend?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook at Anthony Constantino -author. The picture is just a picture of my goofy looking face with sunglasses. You can tell by my mustache. You can also find me on Instagram if you really want to follow me there. I mostly post pictures of my minis, but I do post pictures. But I also post like updates about my writing on there. It's like Goran Hobbybeard. Yeah, and then you can find all my work on Amazon, just Anthony Constantino.
Well, listen, everybody, get over to Amazon and grab Unsettling SIPS Volume 1 and 2. And look out for his novel, and look out for Anthony coming back to my show to talk about your novel when you finish it.
I'd
love that feedback one.
I'm happy to, sir.
Well, everyone, listen, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that is Anthony Constantino. We'll see you next time. Take care.